Thank you so much. Next is the engineer's report. I have a couple things. So the sanitary sewer rehabilitation, the borough manager has prepared a request for reimbursement from the state as part of our grant. The 2025 street resurfacing, AF Damon Incorporated is set to tentatively start actually tomorrow on the street paving project. The work should take about 3 days to complete and will include the following streets: Rose Lane, Harding Avenue between Newell and School, Mitchell Avenue from Morton Avenue to the Borough line, and patching of potholes on Morton Avenue, Cedar Avenue, and Providence Road. So keep that in mind when you're traveling around. Next I have is the Borough Hall fire alarm panel. So we did have an annual fire alarm inspection, and it was found that our panel needed to be replaced. So the borough manager is obtaining prices from several contractors for the work to be done. And then next would be the discussion on the volume management plan, and I will give that over to Mr. Catania. Thank you.
Thank you again. As council may be aware that the federal government and the state have issued a permit for all stormwater discharge from the borough. That permit cycle is a 5-year term, and the current one's set to expire in 2026. Currently, we're meeting our requirements through participation in the Eastern Delaware County Stormwater Collaborative, and at one of the last meetings of that collaborative, the discussion on whether to continue in that collaborative to prepare the next round of permitting was brought up. The new cycle will have, it's a little different in the past. In the past, we were obligated to target removal of the pollutants, the sediment, whatever it may be, that would identify the pollutant from the discharge to a certain percentage. DEP has kind of changed course, and they have what they call a volume management plan. So now we have to directly address the amount of stormwater that's leaving the borough. The collaborative has asked whether or not the borough would be interested in continuing the joint effort to meet the permit requirements. And they've actually asked for us to provide an interest confirmation, just a kind of a letter of interest prior to, I think they wanted actually June 1st, but we just recently were made aware of this. So I think if we decide in the near future, we're okay, because the actual notification to DEP is not until next September. So it makes sense to kind of continue the collaborative, just because the meeting the criteria that's needed, we're kind of land stricken here. We don't have a whole lot of space in order to do the construction projects that are needed to reduce the volume. That being said, I think we consider just putting our notice of interest out there, see what the details are going to be, see what our costs are going to be, what objectives they're going to meet for us, and then ultimately the collaborative has asked that we pass a resolution and a letter of intent that would have to be signed and that would be binding. So that's where we are right now, and we'll kind of provide more information if it becomes available. But I guess the first step would be interested in all to be considered. So that's where we are.
That's all that I have. And I also want to make sure that for the streets that I mentioned earlier, that all vehicles need to be removed from the street by 7 a.m. And no work will be done on the weekends. And then Doug, if we could get this posted. Sure. If it's not already. I have a flyer. Thank you.
Next, we have Public Safety.
Yeah. Thank you. Before we start on our reports, I just want to give a shout out to the police department. I know we had a situation that arose last week. It didn't start with us, but it ended with us, and we really did an amazing job with that. I don't want to get into detail, but it was in the news, so it's not like it's a secret, but I just want to say well done.
Thank you,
guys.
Yes.
Finished it out, and kudos to you, round of applause, because that could have been way worse.
Thank you very much.
That could have been way worse.
Good job.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we'll start with the police report, chief.
Right, the report for June 25th, I'll go over the departmental objectives. The first objective being to reduce accidents by 10% for the year. In our efforts to reduce accidents, we're tracking our traffic checks, our warnings, and our citations for the reporting period of May 26th until June 18th, last week when I prepared this report for tonight's meeting. We had 7 accidents compared to 5 during the same time period last year. So that's an increase of 40%. Overall for the year, we have 2 more accidents than we did last year, which is 5% increase. Of note, of those 7 accidents, 3 of them were minor backup accidents of people in the Wawa parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad to say that there's no injuries that have been reported in any of the accidents, but 3, like I said, 3 of the 7 incidents were actually over the course of less than 3 days in the Wawa parking lot. Our traffic checks, we had 121 this year compared to 109 the last year, the same reporting time period. That's an increase of 11%. For the year, we have 608 compared to 549, which is an overall 11% increase. Our warnings, we had 35 during this reporting period compared to 41 last year. That's a reduction of 15% less warnings. We have 213 this year compared to 227, which is a 4% reduction in warnings. However, our citations during this past reporting period, we had 35 citations compared to 15, which was a 133% increase. For the year, we have 174 citations compared to 167. So it's a 9% increase in citations that have been issued. Community engagement's another objective that we want to track. For the reporting period, we had 16 compared to 4 last year during the same period. For the year, we have 81 compared to 28. During this last reporting period, some of this community engagements included, again, the school visits, the reading with the kids. We also had a friends and family CPR event here on a Saturday morning in which we had 10 participants. So we were happy with the showing for that. I got several emails from the participants thanking us for the instruction that Officer Collier had presented and given to the participants. The other thing that we're tracking is our trainings for this year. In service, we didn't have any during this reporting period. However, we did have other training of 15 events, which includes case law review, officer safety bulletins, and procedural trainings for the officers, in which they review, and then we have discussions as needed. And then other than what's on the report itself, I want to bring up a couple other things. Number one, the Friends and Family CPR event that we had. Number 2 was I met with William Johnson today for a follow-up to the parking ordinance that was updated at a recent council meeting. We met over on Baker Street and discussed the placement of new no parking signs. I also took the time to go and place in everybody's door a flyer letting them know about the change in the ordinance, that the signs would be changed effective tomorrow, and that any enforcement actions would not take place until Monday the 30th. And I also asked the residents in this flyer I put in their doors to give us a call if they have any questions about the change or the reason for the change. And then Civil Service Commission met this evening. The Civil Service Commission, since the beginning of the month, we've conducted our written test, our physical agility, as well as our oral interviews. I presented to the solicitor and the Civil Service Commission a list of eligible candidates, which the Civil Service Commission voted to approve. So I'll be forwarding that list to the Public Safety Committee for next steps. And then lastly, related to the event that you spoke about, Councilwoman, about that took place last week, I do want to just not go into it in depth, but I do want to say, in case people did not see the news, as a result of that investigation, our partnership with Prospect Park, we got three long guns, AR-15 style assault rifles off the street. 4 handguns, at least 3 of which were ghost guns, as well as equipment to manufacture ghost guns, all taken out of that apartment. So with that being said, Officer McGrady did a great job on the overnight, and Sergeant Brown did a great job in taking the suspect into custody, and I'll be forwarding to council for your approval commendations for them for an upcoming council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We had discussion about the electric bikes and
Yes.
to elaborate that.
So we did. I know that you and I had spoken about, unfortunately, the scooter accident and just the kids being on their electric bikes and the scooters. And I know you and I spoken about trying to do some collaboratives to educate the kids, but what have you guys done? Like, can we just talk about that? Because I know that has been something that's been major.
So since we spoke last
Yes.
week, I was then off. Today was my first day back. And we had discussed, there was a flyer that you had that we were going to try and amend to utilize for department purposes. That has not been done yet. So since our conversation, that has not been addressed, Council.
Yeah, and I can talk about it. So basically, we want to actually educate the parents on just the helmet use for these kids. I mean, I know that you've seen the uptake of kids on scooters and bikes, and these scooters are fast and they're dangerous. And obviously, we've seen the unfortunate events that have occurred. And I think that's just something that we need to just bring in, the community. I mean, it's there. Listen, my kids have them. So we are looking, for the community to come together and just kind of just educate each other, and for the police to just keep your eye out, nab those kids. Listen, where's your helmet? Like, we just.
One of the things I had considered after we had,
It's a law, yeah.
one of the things I had considered after we had our conversation was actually obtaining helmets to actually hand out, much as we did with the safety vests.
Yeah.
To obtain helmets to hand out to the kids for them to wear.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
We're gonna move on to our fire report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Fire report for fire activity report for May 2025. Company responded to 30 incidents, in service for 17 hours and 20 minutes. Total response personnel, 128 personnel hours, 88 hours, 15 minutes. High response 9, average response 5. Incidents consisted of 7 building fires, 11 automatic fire alarms, 2 medical assists, 2 elevator rescues, 3 motor vehicle accidents, 2 CO alarms, 1 cover assignment, and 2 pedestrian struck. And 15 assists other fire companies. The company had 8 details for 43 hours attended by 63 personnel for 272 hours and 30 minutes of personnel hours. The company had 3 training drills for 7 hours, 30 minutes attended by 26 members with 65 personnel hours. They did 3 6-district duty engine assignments, a total of 13 hours attended by 25 personnel for 108 personnel hours. And there was 8 hours of engineering and maintenance repairs done. Respectfully submitted, Jamie, Deputy Chief. Any questions?
Thank you.
No questions, but do you want to give a request out there that we are accepting donations?
Yes, we are always.
Like I didn't just say.
Yes, we are always accepting donations, Gatorade, water, especially this time of year. Especially with this weather, it's requiring more energy, more exertion, and we're not in hurries. We will come down the heat. We are bringing in more companies to assist on just even the smallest things, just so we have enough power to keep everybody slowly moving through. Mutually is good with all of our companies, so we're looking for that.
Where the path will bring.
Where can it be, where and when can it be dropped off?
You
The
can,
flyers right up on the.
yeah, there's a flyer right up front here where you can drop off the water and the Gatorade. You can drop off the firehouse on Tuesday nights. It's always remember there. If not, you can just put it right next to the fire, right next to one of the doors, and somebody will pop by.
Thank you.
All right, next up is our fire marshal report, please.
Good evening, council and residents. Fire marshal report for May 25th, May 2025. There was one fire investigation, which was also a combination of a fire company report issued to myself. Fire chief reported to me, received a fire alarm call for the above address, which was 2 Yale Avenue. Fire company responded upon additional investigation, and they found that the fire alarm system to the building was powered by an outlet from the second floor apartment. The tenant of the second floor apartment where the sense cord was coming from is the sister of the property owner. The power to the storefront was cut off when the business left the building, and the fire alarm for the building was powered by the storefront. So the power was cut off to the storefront, and it was cut off to the fire alarm system that powered the building fire alarm. The chief reported this issue has been going on for over a month. I contacted the owner. He stated that he was having an issue with PICO trying to get the power turned back on to correct the issue of the alarm system power supply location. The last time I talked to the owner, it was correct. So that situation has been taken care of. There was no fire inspections or reviews, and again, the fire company reported issue was that fire alarm issue at Yale Avenue. And that is the fire report submitted by myself and the Stokes Fire Marshal for Morton.
I had a question again, as always,
Yes, ma'am.
about our lock boxes.
Yes, I'm actually just talking to the chief in reference to the Knox boxes. I have to talk to Mr. Catania in reference to code enforcement, in reference to being on the same page, in reference to the lock boxes. There is an ordinance in reference to that, so I will have to talk to them too, so we can get that situation together and be on the same page. So all the businesses in town actually have. And a lock box, Knox box is basically a little safe that goes on the building that has all the keys or entryways into the building, so you don't have to damage the doors or force windows or whatever. But that's what that is for.
Has any letters going out to the businesses yet?
Not as yet. Again, I have to talk to code in reference to making sure it's the correct ordinance and everything on the letter.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions? Thank you.
We had already started discussion on our ALS issue, so we're gonna move on now. That concludes our
Okay. Next one, we have sanitation and recycling.
Good evening, everyone. For our May report for the trash, there were 4 pickups and the tonnage of weight was 98.62. And it has been brought to our attention from council that residents are putting out their trash before our Monday pickup. So I would encourage all residents, it is an ordinance about trash. It is not to go out on the weekend. It's not to go out Saturday. And I think if somebody's putting it out on Saturday, possibly they went away, I would just ask that you may reach out to one of your neighbors and ask that they would put your trash out on Monday or on Sunday at dusk, because that's the requirement. You're to put it out Sunday at dusk. It's not to linger on the street on Saturday. Once again, that's something, if it is happening, I would encourage anyone to call the borough office during the borough business hours to make them aware, because that would be something that our code could enforce on our residents. But we just want our residents to be mindful of the fact that trash should not go out on Saturday. So I just ask that everybody please be mindful of that. Also, you also have your second day pickup on Thursday. So that is there for you too. And also We're grateful for all those that continue to recycle. And please be aware that I did reach out to Leslie Conwitter and DCS, and I'm waiting for a callback in regards to a larger container. Because I do notice that, and please be mindful of that, people do recycle, but they tend to leave it outside of the container. I would hope that if the container is full, please do not try to just sit your trash or recyclable items there. Because once again, that just makes our borough look unkept. So we have a responsibility as residents as we come up and recycle. Be mindful of that as well. And if there's no other concerns or questions?
Yes, I had a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. Are you aware of the whole vouchers that are going out in the community yet? We have contact on the senior centers. We have schoolhouses, we have, Good Neighbors in Darby Township, and we have, Francis and, Dorothy. They are giving vouchers and virtual vouchers out to individuals, but you must register. Can you contact them and get the number?
Give me the name.
Because you must register to get the voucher, because they take care of everybody's registered at this center.
Okay.
So that the public can do that. Also, they're also giving out fans. Anybody know needs some fans, seniors or anything? So those are the things we want to put on the website. Make sure they go to the website.
Oh, use the mic, nobody else. We can
Want to
hear.
make sure that's on the website for everybody too. That's opportunity. We also want to ask, do we have any health activities going on, scheduled?
Nothing has been scheduled, and I have talked, me and the mayor, I just have to come up with something that we want to work on suicide prevention. I mean, we would try to address that, we would monthly look at something in concerns to the health awareness. So we're going to coordinate that, like I said, with the assistance of the mayor, because I know that that is in her wheelhouse. So, and I also believe there is one of the officers that is on our police department that is also aware of suicide prevention. So I will be reaching out to him as well.
Can I ask that you also inform Councilman Eager about monthly, we have a different month, every disease.
Yes.
Every disease. I mean, just get him that information that he can highlight
Like that.
on the month, on the website and Facebook page. Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I go back to the ALS thing? I feel like we skipped it. We didn't skip over it. I knew we talked about it at the time, but nobody on council was given opportunity.
Oh, we're going to
is
do
it-
that.
what?
That's going to be a whole discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're going to come back to it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're going back to
Okay.
that.
All right,
Yes.
okay.
Okay. I just sometimes feel like I'm the only one that's concentrated. Doug, stuff to do.
Okay.
Website, Facebook page.
Well, I'm here.
I don't want to be the only one.
But I have given him opportunities for jobs, different things, and events for the Delaware County Council. I have some.
And we did up there with the heat, right?
Yes.
And all updated stuff with the heat. We're in there. Thank you. Law and order.
Good. It says on here about, talk about the Eastern Delaware County Stormwater Collaborative. Charles already mentioned the second part of the collaborative, which is the pollution reduction plan. If anybody has any questions, I can answer a lot of that too. And I appreciate, Charles, that you talked about it a little bit, because it is a little complicated. And there's a number of municipalities that are in the group. There's 11 municipalities in the Stormwater Collective Collaborative. A couple of them are not in the PRP program. They are large municipalities like Radnor, for instance, or Upper Darby, who have their own people who run those programs. Since they're large, they have them. So us going in with a group is cost savings for us, and there are regulations that have to be filed with the government every year. There are municipalities locally who have not been doing so, and they have received some letters from the feds about this, and they will, some have expressed interest in joining the PRP, but that's under discussion within the collaborative because some of us have been in it for years and paid quite a bit of money into it, theoretically, and these new people haven't. So it's something that needs to be discussed if they're going to be allowed to join them. As far as the stormwater collaborative itself, well, let me stay on the PRP. The PRP is where we get our funding, like for the rain garden, which was completely through them, or the repairs at the basin on Country Lane, which is 120 or maybe more $1,000. These are non-matching grants that we get from them. We have a small program that we're going to start, and it'll be 2 spots in Morton. It's already been it had been discussed, and then the collaborative went out and got some plans from an engineer to put in 2 spots, one at Main and Morton at that do not enter sign, the other at Yale and Christian Street right by the post office. Put out what's called bump outs. They would be cemented in containers more or less with native plants in it. They would look nice. They would help with rainwater. They would at Yale and Christian. Hopefully, it would also slow down traffic a bit. If you ever stop at the post office and try to get out of the car in front of the post office, sometimes you're taking your life in your hands. It would extend the little fee that's there out a little farther. This would not cost us anything. It'd be done all through the collaborative. It would be safety, and it would be beauty, and we would get that darn do not enter sign that's been a mess for the last 10 years taken care of through this at Main and Morton Avenue. So it's it'll be in the works. If anybody has any questions or comments, I can provide you with more information. And otherwise, there isn't a whole lot to say about the collaborative at this time, except that we did have our Rain Girl event a few weeks ago, which was attended by well over 40-some people, very successful, always interesting, lasts about an hour. We have another educational thing like that. Even if you don't want a Rain Girl, you just come. I know there's someone here who didn't want one, but they came to it anyway and found it interesting. That was on a Tuesday night, I believe. That Friday, then we gave away free plants, native plants, and had around 55 to 60 people come between 5 and 7 p.m. and get plants. People not just from Morton, but people who are members of the other municipalities. So if you have any questions about
Was not many Morton residents?
I don't know exactly. There was 4 or 5 people at least that I recognize, but it doesn't mean that I know everyone. At least that many. I have to get a list from them.
Thank you.
See, but and if you attended the Rain Girl workshop, you have a free Rain Girl, and this worth something in itself too. So there's a lot to the collaborative. It is a public meeting. They're held on Tuesday mornings. We hold them here in this room. You're welcome to come if you wish. There are a lot of other municipalities represented, but it's very interesting and very important, and it's something that the borough's been involved with for about 10 or 12 years. And if there's no questions.
I do. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
And since you ended with the collaborative, because you had said like it doesn't cost the borough, but it does. Now, Mr. Lillicrap, the last time you were speaking on this, you asked for a budget. Have you received the budget? Let me just ask my question. Have you received the budget?
We got a copy. It's something that was given out.
Perfect. We cannot say that it doesn't cost.
I didn't say that it didn't cost. I said that it's non-matching funds on the grants and the certain proposals and the things that have been done.
You did say it.
We pay $2,700 a year to belong to the collaborative, and I believe it's
Is that the increase?
That's the, is that the, yes, is that
For the
with the increase?
Next year,
27?
27. And then the PRP, I believe, is $4,600.
Okay,
So it does cost money.
so we can't say that it does not cost.
So I didn't mean for that to sound like that it doesn't cost us anything, but we have these.
And it's on the rise, and it's also on the rise.
For the first time in 10
So that
years.
was my one question. Secondly, because your committee is law and ordinance, one of the things I wanted to point out, I don't know who was affected by the storms, but I seem to think most of us were. We were without power. I just want to kind of put this out there so that we are doing this in our borough. There is an ordinance to maintain the grounds of your property. And because that's not being done, we were affected in ways that we didn't need to be affected by that storm. Okay? And it was a week's time. I live where I like to call Snow White's Forest because my yard backs up into Sycamore Woods. Now, I have taken action on my property because of the trees that come down. There's multiple trees that lie on Sycamore Woods, and they have come down on my property. I have been, I've had to take care of the trees. I had a tree come down in February right in front of my property. I had to take care of that right away. It blocked the pathway of walking. There's several families that walk down my street on that sidewalk with their dogs. With that being said, please make sure we abide by the ordinance. I don't care who you are. We were without power for several hours on this side during a heat wave. That goes for everybody. And it's an ordinance, so that's why I bring it up during this time. But for a week, we were without, I don't know how many of you were without power, but that street was blocked. You could not get down that Morton Avenue, which is Morton Avenue. It's the road that we use every day and everybody else uses. Please maintain your property. Please maintain your property. And I'm gonna say it one more time, please maintain your property. Because if it wasn't the storm, it could have been a person. As you see, I don't know, but storms are bad. So I want to make sure we point that out because you did not. That's all I have.
Okay. Question, for, the flags and everything, is there anything advertised on the website or Facebook to let people, residents know about the flags?
No, the plan that came up sort of in the last meeting. It's kind of word of mouth through people that were there that
I can attest to how fast stuff moves.
Well, there were 50, when it started at 5 o'clock, there were 50 people.
Doug moves. Ms. Evans, can you please make sure as soon as you find something out?
It was unusual. Usually we do know about that a couple weeks ahead of time. But
I thank you, but again, can you please make sure it gets to the Facebook page and website page? The other thing is with the ordinance, we want to make sure that people are aware of things that we've been talking about. We asked for you to follow up on property upkeep this meeting. Were you able to go with the ordinance for that?
There are several ordinances.
There's an ordinance, I told you which one. There's an ordinance. All you have to do is pull.
There are
an ordinance, please.
There are several that talk about many different things.
Michelle, there's one ordinance that speaks about that specifically.
As I said, there are.
So you don't have it yet.
No.
Thank you, Rick. Come to the
We're
next
not
one.
letting me finish.
Actually, I have one
I have
question
one
before we
for
move
you.
on.
Go ahead.
Can, for the next meeting in which, you give an update for the collaborative, I tried looking, and it was to Mr. Lillycraft's point, for an annual budget. If you can provide us with one, I couldn't find one online. I did try before asking. I think that would be extremely helpful for a lot of what people are looking for.
Online where, there.
I literally just, not on their website, but I typed in pretty much every version of trying to pull an annual report for the collaborative. So, I honestly, I could be missing. I don't declare myself the the end-all be-all of Google searches, but I think that being able to have an annual report and being able to look at it, and having it readily available might just help with a lot of the questions that come in and out with this.
As a collaborative, they should be subject to the right to know law, so you should be able to do a right to know request if it's not available.
Okay.
That's all.
I can talk to the people who run the website and see what these,
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I tried, and that's the only reason why I'm asking.
So I was there because we talked about our last meeting about maintenance of keep for properties and residents. Can you please follow moved up to make sure that ordinance is up there? Because we have a lot that happened again. The property of keep, then actually, Councilwoman Roberts talked about trash coming out early and everything, arresting with the property of keep. People putting stuff out there, they should put boxes stored up on their porch. So if you go with the property of keep, I do have a number for that I will give, that you can look at.
There are things listed under several different chapters, which if you
Michelle, if you do your job, it's always going to be a report. You do a chapter every week, every month. That's what I'm just asking you for. I asked what I specifically asked for. I do have a number that I will give you the code that just follow through. Thank you.
I probably have the code here, but since I know
Any other questions?
I'm done, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kenny, Economic and Development.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Last time we were here, it was a few days before the Juneteenth event, but unfortunately, because of the rain, we had to cancel that event. So we did not have it, unfortunately. So maybe better luck next year. We'll have better weather and get to come out and celebrate Juneteenth. The Morton Fire Company, I'm hoping, because I was away to speaking, but I hope you had the food and truck vendor, right? Okay, so if you get up next time, you maybe speak about that. I hope that was a huge success. And July 11th is going to be the Morton Movie Night. The movie has been picked. It's going to be The Sandlot. Yeah. So I hope everybody is ready to watch that. It's a coming of age tale, a baseball, summertime. It's a great flick. The usually starts about 8 or 8:30. It's going to be a social field here. So bring the family out, bring your chairs. It's going to serve popcorn. It's a good time. Movie shows, kids get to run around, just have a great night. So please feel free. That's July 11th. Okay, so come out for that. There's going to be a blood drive in September. I still haven't gotten, I have the date, but I'm not sending out any particular information just yet because I'm waiting for the online portal to become active and then I can officially kind of start ramping that up. But it is going to be in September sometime. So I will let you know when that happens. And that's about it. Any other events that anybody knows is going on would like to give a shout out?
No, excellent movie choice, though.
Thanks.
And if it's raining, it'll be inside.
What's that?
If it rains outside, it'll be inside.
Possibly. The reason why the meeting wasn't happening was that there was something going on. So maybe if the gym is free, maybe we can make that happen. But yeah, I'm not sure. We haven't, fingers crossed, we've not had a rain date happen with movement yet.
Okay. Thank you.
So, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Again, please, as I say, Doug moves pretty fast, putting everything on the webpage and Facebook page. Any information you have to get to him, please get it to him, because he will put it right up for us. Thank you.
I will also add, if there's any corrections that I put up and they're wrong, please let me know. That happens, too. I'm not perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we have Parks and Recreation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I understand that every Saturday now they will be line dancing in the gym. So if you know how to dance, if you don't know how to dance, bring your own aspirins. I understand also coming in July, we will have chair exercises. And I'm pretty sure we all know what they are about, so bring your Tylenol.
Spring Tylenol.
I am waiting to hear from Mr. Richard Neal. Mr. Richard Neal, he is a Morton gentleman, Scranton here, and he is the instructor to chess. I'm working with him to get his schedule, and I will bring that forth, and maybe we'll set that up in the gymnasium as well. I also reached out, and I spoke to my brother Jack, about having comedians perform in the gymnasium. And I was reaching out, there's a young lady in Rutledge, I understand, is a comedian. So if anybody knows her, please let Jack know, and Jack will let me know, and we will try to schedule her. But she doesn't have to be the only one. If we can have comedians on a regular basis that doesn't interrupt Mr. Eggers' stuff or anybody else's stuff in the gymnasium, that's what we'll do. And as always, like I said, I'm still reaching out. Still reaching out. God bless.
I meant to mention one more thing online. If anybody's around on Saturday, my band, the Class of '84, will be at Rose Street Park. So it's an all 80s band. Hopefully the weather will hold out. So if you're in the area, stop by.
You have to get there early to get your steak.
Sure.
So I just want to kind of give an update on Jacobs Park. So we have been getting quotes on the trees to get that cleaned up and moving forward with purchasing equipment and getting the park finally back to the state that it should be in. So I just want to say thank you, Jack. I know you started with the quotes. I have some quotes for the equipment, so we can come together on that. But Mr. Stubbs, I wanted to let you know, because I haven't had a chance to speak with you yet, just with school and district baseball and everything going on. We are working on that. So I'm extremely proud to say that we are finally able to start getting Jacobs Park in a good state. That's very near and dear to my heart. I know it is to you. And it should be to anybody that is from that part of Morton. It is the heart of Morton. And I'm just really, really happy that we're finally able to do that.
If I may,
Yeah, absolutely.
let everyone know, I turn 21 on the first Wednesday of next month. So I won't have my meeting. There will not be a park and recreation meeting on the first Wednesday, on the second. It's my 21st birthday. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have a report from Mr. Lily Pratt from Delaware County Authority.
For those who don't know, my name is Lily Pratt. I'm the Morton Borough's representative through the Central Delaware County Authority. Responsibility I've had here for 23 years. Also, as the chairman of that authority. For those who don't know, the Central Delaware County Authority is a wastewater conveyance authority. It's our responsibility when the wastewater flows leave our member municipality collection system, goes into our interceptor maze of pipes, we get it to the treatment plant in Chester by way of miles of pipes and pump stations. And we do that in the most environmentally safe and least costly way that we possibly can. We average increase in our budget every year about 3%. In fact, this year for 2025 was 1.9%. Just a little bit of history. Morton Borough and 7 other municipalities set up CDCA, Central Delaware County Authority, in 1935. And they did that because at that point, the wastewater was discharged into Stony Creek. So that was no longer true. So they put a pipe in and they put it down to, and they just discharge it into the Delaware River. So that didn't work anymore. So we had to construct a treatment plant in Sowers Avenue, and finally that didn't comply to code anymore. So then the County of Delaware created the Delaware County Regional Water Quality Control Authority, which is known as DELCORA, for that we signed a contract with them to do the treatment for all of our flows, and that's been that way ever since. The Central Delaware County, so we have an obligation, we came on board, that it was in poor condition, we had a lot of work to do. So since 2009, and this will, I'm taking this now to the one, including the project we're working on now, that will conclude in 26. We will have expended $46 million getting that thing into ignition. And the biggest problem, as council knows, it's not their problem, it's everybody's problem, is the stormwater and groundwater getting into the wastewater. And the reason that's a problem is very, very expensive to treat wastewater, let alone having it mixed in with stormwater and groundwater. And so we've been working, we just, the most recent, just to show you the financing, for our most recent project was a $16.5 million. This is to reline 3 of our interceptors. Last one will be Stony Creek, and which will conclude in 2026 and for $6.5 million. So the project was $16.5 million. We got a low interest loan from investors. We had a effective interest rate of 2.4% over 20 years. And so steps are going on. We're trying to get ourselves in condition what we have. The treatment plant has been doing a lot of work, so now we're starting to focus on our members. The municipality has too many things going on. The wastewater problem is something that, you know, we deal with every day, and the Cora deals with. So we're now moving into an era where we're just going to try and help our members. Okay. So the first thing was about 3 years ago, we got a grant for what's called the Sanitary Sewer Evaluation Survey, and I think Morton share came to $110,000. So CDCA paid 90% of that. You paid 10. We just recently got another $500,000 grant, which we're going to help some of our members who have excessive infiltration inflow problems, and we'll be able to cover that cost of no out-of-pocket cost to those members. But this will not include. Morton doesn't have that problem. So the issues that we can't do anything about are private laterals on front lawns and things like pump station, sump pumps being discharged into the laundry tub, for people tying their downspout leaders into the excuse me, the pipes on your front lawn. And the EPA has somehow estimated that 44% of the stormwater and groundwater that's getting into the wastewater flows is from private laterals. And that's a very difficult problem because we can't go on the private property. But now, an effort, and beyond that, there's some money being spent by DELCORA, the treatment center, working with some of the municipalities where there are private laterals that are immediate to, you know, the borough's collection system, and they're moving in there to fix those. And then we're going to see exactly if the ones that they're working on right now, just what kind of an impact that's going to have, and hopefully it'll do a lot to reduce these flows. It's extremely expensive, and that's why, you know, you hear me sometimes when you do hear me up here with that doing all you can, and I know you do at this end. They just did a big project with Instaform for, I don't know, $262,000, something like that, for your manholes and everything, which also contributed to getting, you know, they leak and crack and so forth. So this has always come up, and we give you an annual bill. The last bill for this year was round numbers, $870,000. That's for your wastewater collection. But I just want to point that to you. If you received a bill from CDCA only for our budget, your annual bill would be $156,500. So the rest of that 870 is $713,500 is for treatment service. And that's why we're working so hard to get the stormwater out of the wastewater. It's that expensive. And it's been going on a long time, and I'm sure it will keep going on a long time, but it's just an overview of what we do and have been doing for a long time. And we appreciate all the cooperation we're getting from our members, and we will continue to do that. And I appreciate the time you gave me tonight to say what I had to say. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our mayor's report.
I will make this as brief as possible now that the storm is over. And I'm just going to say I've never felt more safe than having like so many EMS people in here, as you saw me looking at how crazy that was. That rolls into, I want to give a shout out to all the individuals during the storm for all the work that has been done, whether you were responding via EMS calls, fire, ambulances, our road crew, our police. That was a very, very crazy storm here in Morton. It almost uprooted a fencing that I have that's 6 feet into the ground. So those winds were no joke, as we saw with so much of the damage around. I did want to mention the firehouse vendor event. That was another huge success. I know that we had at least 2 of our members here. I was there all day. It was steadily attended. There were several council members that were there as well. I did get sunburned, but it was a really great community event where a lot of people, you know, if they weren't just shopping or eating, were, you know, talking and having a really good time. So again, thank you guys for putting that on. I enjoy it. This is our second one, right? I enjoy it. I spend way more money than I should, but I know that it goes to a good cause. The Water and Gatorade is Tuesdays, 7 to 8 p.m. according to your flyer. If need be, and I mean, I don't know about you guys, I'm just offering it. If it's weather non-permitting, bringing it in and telling Jack to hide it, you know, could be an offer as well. I don't think he could go through an entire case of water and let go.
I don't know about that.
And to the chief as well, that the job that our department and our officers did on that particular incident and getting those guns off the street and out of circulation. I mean, if anyone saw that, you know, news, and half the people going home tonight, maybe Googling it and looking, it was an incredible job that could have easily went sideways, and all of the individuals that were involved made sure that it didn't. So, you know, from us to you, you do it every day, but in this case, thank you in regards to just, you know, extend it to all of our officers and to yourself for your leadership. Other than that, I do have 2 things from the AMVETs. I don't know if anyone knows, they have bingo every 3rd Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. at the AMVETs. And their annual family picnic is July 27th, 1 to 5. I'm sure we'll have Doug, since he can do it really, really quickly and everything, get him up on the website so everybody has that. And just as a heads up, we're August 21st, right, Chief, for our summer social?
Correct.
Did we decide it was 6 to 8?
I'll get back to you on that.
All right, we'll make sure that we get that out though, but that's all I have.
Thank you. This, we have our manager's report.
Yes, Council President. Just want to piggyback on what Shantae said. I am in the final stages of getting proposals for the tree work at Jacobs Park and Sycamore Woods. I should have that probably within the next week to 10 days. I'm getting about 4 or 5 proposals just to, you know,
see what's out there. Also, want to also piggyback on what the mayor said, the storm damage. I got to tell you from Spurge and William did an unbelievable job. As you know, we had some issues on North Morton, and a giant tree that came down on Bridge Street and destroyed a car. But William and Spurge, the police department, the fire department, again, did a great job, and they should be commended. So that's it.
Before we get into our action items, I want to let everybody know each council person in the mayor has tags now. For when they're attending any events, we're asking that you utilize them, please, with your name and let everybody know who you are. And you're a council member or the mayor, and then you can identify yourself, we're asking that you utilize them. Thank you. Next year comes shirts. Okay. All right, action items. Walk with it. Okay, we're going to talk about our ASL service, everybody. I hope everybody had a chance to read their packet. During our executive session, last council meeting, we had, we'll come and discuss, well, two organizations come and talk to us. So, let's get it going. You want to go first? We'll call, everybody know the gist of what we're talking about and stuff, so.
I want to ask again, just to see clear, did everyone get a chance to look at the packet that we were given during our executive session? Because that provided us as council with the information we needed to come together to vote. Does anyone have any questions?
So I think it might help. I was at some of the meetings, not all, and so if not for me, for maybe some residents that have no idea what we're talking about. An overview of what it is, why it's happening, what are the options if we do something, if we don't do something, do we have to have it like insurance? One of the meetings I was at, somebody, I think even one of the ones mentioned, they don't know why the crisis is here. We haven't had this for a long time. So those are the questions I have. It's very expensive. So maybe we just start at the very basic level and get that out.
So the reason why we are sitting here today and speaking about this, I mean, I would hope that most people have been following the news, especially because we do live here. But we had an entire health system shut down. So that's why we're here, so I'll start with that. And I hope you guys are very educated on what's going on, and if you don't, please educate yourself because it's very serious. So this is what brought us to today. I hope that answers pretty much the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot more information, but just, for people that may not know, it's not a bad thing to just go over the whole thing again.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. No, but just to answer that quickly, that's why we are
at this point now discussing. Okay.
Okay.
I do have a question about the Springfield proposal, which is a two-page letter from the ambulance corps. What I'm reading at the first paragraph on page 2 is that it says the annual payment, they're requesting an annual payment from Morton Borough in the amount of $56,000.
Yes.
I don't think that's what was said earlier.
Yes,
That's
it was.
Yes,
that was it.
Okay.
This was
Just wanted to make sure that number is out there because it's on some paperwork.
Did you have a question?
I just was making a comment.
Can you respond?
Yeah, that was said.
Want to make sure.
Our solicitor mentioned it also. Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
No. It doesn't seem like it's understood.
Making sure you have. Yeah, some time to talk about.
No, I mean, the one main one that I had that I've heard repeatedly was, why is this a crisis now when I don't think he said we've used it in 6 years.
Correct.
So I just, that's the fill in the blanks that I need.
Okay.
Really, that's my only one.
Okay, wait a minute.
Quick question. So it sounds like, between you and Aaron, just real quick, Crozier, I don't mean to do, I just want clarity, I guess. Crozier covered all of our ambulance services for this area, multiple areas, at no cost to us. What they did was simply bill insurance or bill patient for those services.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. And as Doug asked the question, and Councilwoman Miller stated, so I take that this occurred because of the crisis proposal. And the need was to come together and determine what can we do now. Trying to look at what's available. The collaborative with the different municipalities came up with an organization, thing that we were hoping to look at. Started out as regional, but then started looking at what can happen now to meet the needs of the communities that are involved. What we're looking at is determining if Morton wants to be part of this collaborative, or they want to look at the other organizations that are coming up and asking us to join, like Springfield. We had VSMC come in also and talk to us, and we had SWAP. So we just want to look at this we're talking about. I want to stress to our residents and to council, because we are residents. We were not budgeted for this. This was a crisis situation. The money was not there. We will have to budget for this ongoing for the next coming years. And we're going to look at possibly a tax hike. We have to be honest with you guys. We're looking at that. Or we're looking at some other type of form that we have to do. EMS tax that might put on the borough. We want to look at everything that we need to do for our residents to ensure this. We have our packet here, and everybody else will be able to get a copy of that as we talk about it. As I said, our solicitor went through a gist of everything. Again, the money costs things. We have, as he stated, we do have some of our communities involved who are here. If you have any questions, if you're willing, you can ask some questions to them. Come on. Yeah.
I do have some copies of this agreement.
Yes.
Would anyone like to have a copy, because we're going to kind of go through it?
And can you let them know what municipality belongs to, so they know who's here?
Folks to get the handouts. I'll introduce you. You want one?
You know what? Thank you.
Thank you very much to Morton Borough Council and Mayor, and thank you very much to the citizens of Morton for hosting this meeting. I want to start by introducing myself. I'm Dr. Cooper. I'm an ER doctor by training. I worked at Crozier for 7+ years, leading up until their unfortunate closure just a few weeks ago. And in addition to that role, I'm an elected, and just like you, I sit on the council for Nether Province. And so because I have that unique perspective on how we organize and plan our municipalities, and also the professional experience of how we organize and plan emergency services and emergency departments, I've been helping to facilitate this conversation amongst many municipalities. Morton certainly. Tonight we're discussing some details of that, but also Rutledge and Rose Valley, as well as Swarthmore and Archbishop. To kind of lay the background and kind of bring everyone up to speed and answer some questions that were asked. So historically, Crozier, the hospital system, has provided 50 to 60% of all of the EMS capacity in the region. And it's the legal responsibility of the municipalities to provide that. But Crozier did that historically because they're a health system, they had that capacity, they had always done it, and they continued to do it. And so we really, as municipalities, benefited from that service provided essentially for free to many of our municipalities. When Crozier closed,
their EMS service closed. And so when their EMS service closed, we're looking at now, you can imagine, a very significant shortfall in our EMS capacity. And that means both the kind of basic life support service, which the council has been discussing, as well as the advanced life support service, which is some specialty equipment to help breathe for people who stop breathing, to restart hearts that need to be restarted, and that's staffed by specially trained clinicians called paramedics, as opposed to a more basic pre-hospital clinician who's called the EMT. And so as we were looking at how we could replace the capacity that was lost by closure, we started having conversations amongst all the municipalities. And we felt there was value to be had in building something collectively amongst ourselves for several reasons. One, we felt if we built it kind of inside the public domain, that allowed better opportunity for kind of responsiveness and feedback from the public. So if something happens with the agency that you're not happy with in the community, you can come and address your elected officials, and because it's built kind of into the public sphere, you'll have more feedback and say so as a citizenry. And that was really important to us. It was really important to me, having experienced my job at Crozier, really being shut down from people who didn't care about our community or from California. They weren't kind of built into our public ecosystem. So that was really important to me. As we were looking for ways to provide this ALS service, you may have heard a few different terms bandied about, and I'd like to clarify. So one mechanism of providing ALS service, that's an advanced life support service, is something called a chase car. And a chase car is an SUV. And essentially what it does is, if someone were to call 911, there's some kind of dispatch, they say, hey, this is the person with a problem, we think they need advanced life support. So a basic life support ambulance goes to them. And then the chase car, which has the paramedic driving it and has that advanced equipment, will meet them. That's one method. The other method is an ambulance that has both advanced life support and basic life support, something called a mobile ICU ambulance, will go directly towards that patient. They provide the same level of care, but because it's one vehicle instead of two vehicles, the cost is less. And because of quirks in insurance reimbursements, when you have that vehicle, the mobile ICU, transport a patient from the area where they became sick to the hospital, it provides greater opportunity for reimbursements from insurance. And so the mechanism of providing this service with a mobile ICU, as opposed to a chase car, which is a model offered by some of the other contractors and services that we looked at and compared to, the mobile ICU version, which we built into our system, is the most cost conscious because it kind of maximizes revenue from insurance. And it minimizes costs because there's fewer vehicles. And so we built this system to maximize costs. The system we built, I think one of the residents during her comment mentioned they were concerned that this would cost $800,000 or a figure somewhere around that. We estimate that without any reimbursements over an entire year of operations, this would cost a little over $700,000, $750,000. But because there's a significant revenue kind of offsets because of the way in which we've arranged it, we believe the actual cost will be roughly a quarter of that. And because we're able to generate revenue with the service, it offsets the contribution that the municipalities need to make into it, and therefore that the taxpayers. So that's important. I wanted to make sure that everyone was kind of aware of this. That some of the contractors that we're discussing, some of the services that we're discussing, the chase car model, which is more expensive to operate because more vehicles and less revenue opportunity. The last thing I'll mention, and thank you to President Clark Dickinson for bringing this up. We had talked at the very beginning of this at a very large meeting involving even more municipalities about an even broader regional approach. And we discussed something called an emergency services authority. We heard about stormwater authorities, sewer authorities, there's acceptance of transportation authorities. So there have also in Pennsylvania, there's been one built something called an emergency services authority, which uses that same administrative structure to kind of bind municipalities together to provide this service to the residents. That is something that I'm interested in because I think that provides the most opportunity for kind of public feedback because it's a board governance structure with members of boards appointed by municipalities. So I think that's the best way to have public input in perpetuity. And that could be built in the future. The reason we didn't do that this time is because when Crozier closed, the county provided a 90-day window where they were funding KLS. And so that 90 days ends on August 1st. And so we're trying to build a system that can take over on August 2nd. Building an authority structure will take a very long time. It will take a year, perhaps longer. And so it wasn't administratively feasible within the 90-day constraint that was kind of put on. So given that constraint, we feel like the plan that we put here can be operationalized and ready to go in early August to meet that deadline. It has the opportunity for public feedback because it's a contract entered into by all of the municipalities, and ultimately our elected officials are all beholden to our citizens. And it optimizes costs because it has fewer vehicles in the fleet and maximizes insurance revenues. So the way we divided costs, just the last thing I'll mention before turning over to some of the partners, is we looked at historical run data. So we heard earlier that Swarthmore provides basic life support to Morton and others, well, Swarthmore obviously, and also to Netherville and parts of Roseville. And so we looked at the data provided by the county. How many runs did Swarthmore do go into all these towns? How many basic life support runs were there? How many advanced life support runs were there? And we kind of tallied up all the number of EMS calls and responses. And we used the kind of ratio of how many calls are in this municipality to this municipality to this municipality to find a ratio of support that kind of reflects how frequently those municipalities use the service. And so Nether Providence, my municipality, is the largest user, and so we're paying the largest amount. So we, the southern part of our town, which gets responded to by Swarthmore, the northern part has a contract with media. The southern part of our town would, estimated to be using 40% of the total kind of call burden of the service, and so we're supplying 40% of the cost. Likewise, Swarthmore and Morton. You guys are each kind of tied for second at 26% of the estimated call burden. Rutledge, more modest, 5%, still very important. And Rose Valley at 3%. And so based on costs, that's how we calculated the kind of financial inputs. And based on all the other things we discussed, that's how we created the system. And I also just want to really publicly thank President Clark Dickerson and Vice President Miller and Mayor Hammock. Because these meetings were posted right here, and they happened every week since Crozier closed. We've been diligently working and having a conversation, and your input was really important into this final version of the plan. And I appreciated your hosting and your so this is a plan that's been kind of collectively negotiated, kind of collectively arrived upon. I feel like it reflects the best costs, the best ability for public input, and the most fair kind of distribution. So I ask the board to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir. Phil, come up.
And why don't you all introduce yourselves as well? These folks are an important part of our team.
So I'm Bill Hale. I'm the mayor of tiny Rose Valley Borough.
Thank you.
I've been coming to these weekly meetings for the last couple of months, and I'll just go over a few other little things just to make sure everybody understands.
I'm a Dr. Bill's a lawyer, so he's going to introduce
I'm actually a PhD. So when Crozier Chester closed, the county paid for the MSC and to provide the chase ambulance. And that doesn't cost anything. Before we were kind of free riding on Crozier Chester. For 90 days, we're free riding on the county. But on August 2nd, that stops. And we have to consider what's the most economical way to do this going forward. And Max mentioned it with, so I guess everyone knows that Swarthmore has 2 basic life support ambulances. And each one of those ambulances has 2 EMTs. They're also cross-trained as firefighters. But, so one option is to have VMSC come on and continue their service. They're located with the chase vehicle at Swarthmore Firehouse, and they will go out and meet up with the BLS ambulance and provide the paramedic. That's kind of option A. But from the fire company point of view, what's the cheapest way to do it? That involves 2 different vehicles. You have the BLS ambulance and the chase car, and it involves 3 professionals, 2 AMTs in the BLS ambulance and 1 paramedic in the chase car. So after talking with Colin Booth, the fire chief over at Swarthmore, we came to the conclusion that it's much more economical to have 1 vehicle, an advanced life support ambulance, also sometimes called the mobile ICU. And that involves just 1 vehicle and only 2 people, 1 EMT and 1 paramedic. So that's, there's really no contest. That is the most economical way to provide this service. And if we don't provide it, what's going to happen is, before people could kind of free ride on other ambulance providers. But going forward, like Springfield now wants you to pay if you're going to use them. Media ambulances probably going to want us to pay. Rose Valley Borough gets a lot of its advanced life support ambulance from media because they have an ALS ambulance. So I think that's the.
Just briefly.
I don't want to hold up your meeting, so I'll just simply say thank you very much. I'm Jody Roberts. I'm the Borough Council President over in Rutledge. Thank you very much for your consideration of this. And the beauty of being in Rutledge is we know that we can't do anything by ourselves. We do everything in partnership, whether it's our fire company with you, whether it's our police department with Swarthmore. This is an amazing opportunity to really expand and build on the municipal partnerships here. Thank you.
Springfield, we will bring Springfield. Grant. And then we'll entertain questions.
Hi, I'm Heidi Ruby Jam. I'm the Assistant Chief of Springfield Ambulance. And I apologize, I did not anticipate coming here tonight. So I don't have really anything prepared, but I appreciate the explanation that Dr. Cooper provided to you guys. The one clarification point I'd like to bring to your attention, the services that you guys are receiving from Crozier for ALS were not free. Springfield Ambulance actually pays for the ALS provider and has been paying for an ALS provider that's been responding to Morton for years. We started our discussions back in February, when there was a hint that there was a possibility that the hospital was going to be closing and that the ALS services were going to go away. We ended up contracting with an ALS chase car. So what our offer was in the letter that you guys received, excuse me, was for that vehicle to also respond to Morton and cover Morton's for ALS services. There was no update to it based on anybody else not participating in it. Springfield Ambulance currently is covering the entire cost of it. So, and we are a volunteer organization. We are contracting with that ALS provider. That's all the information I can provide you. You guys have the amount here in the letter already. It was $56,000 roughly. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. So,
And that's the year you're closing this course.
yep, that would be an annual cost, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. So I'm trying to understand the whole situation. If we were to pay Springfield $56,000, and I need an ambulance, I'm having a stroke or a heart attack, and they come provide the service and take me to the hospital, do I also have to pay a bill for that service, or my insurance, or out of my pocket?
We do bill insurance. Beyond that, there is the possibility of a subscription program. I don't have any of those details at this point, But I think that's gonna be true no matter where you receive an ambulance coming from. You would still be receiving a BLS ambulance at this point from Swaffham. So you'd be receiving a Springfield ALS chase car and a BLS ambulance from Swaffham.
My follow-up question would be trying to understand the whole situation. Let's say we did not sign up with anyone, Morton, and I call for an ambulance. Would someone come to my house?
Yeah, you still get an ambulance.
What are we really paying the $56,000 for if I'm going to get the service anyway? So that's just trying to understand the whole situation.
You pay for either one, because it'll be either service.
I'm trying to understand. Does anybody
It's a fantastic question, and it really gets to the crux of it. I'm happy to talk about it. So just to repeat, the question was, why should any municipality pay for anything when we have this system of what's called mutual aid, where we're all legally bound to each other and required to respond to calls, in other municipalities, right? So if Springfield ambulance is busy, Swarthmore, taking care of some Springfield, but the second call comes in Swarthmore, goes over there and responds to your residents. If Swarthmore is taking care of someone in Swarthmore, and the second call comes into Swarthmore and they can't respond because they're busy, Springfield comes in. So we exist inside a system of mutual aid to make sure that our citizens, protection is massive. Now, that being said, if a municipality decides to opt out of providing any service and decides to instead rely on mutual aid, they have that legal obligation. But if everyone makes that decision, it's kind of a tragedy that commons the entire system falls apart. And so we all need to kind of think about this from a bigger picture perspective and not try to game the system into thinking like what's best for me, but I think we need to think about how do we make the best system and what's my role in that kind of process. And that's kind of what I've been taking from this, because just like you, when I was a couple years ago, I asked my meeting EMS for my seat in another to provide additional services. I was thinking like, well, why should we provide anything? This is a cost. And what I realized after kind of going back and forth on it inside my head and talking with some other people is, too many people make that decision, the entire system ultimately falls apart. And do I want to be, part of the solution, or do I want to be part of the problem? Is what drove me to ultimately decide to support this solution.
But that follow-up. So, what is the average cost of taking, let's say you had to take me to the hospital? What is the average cost it bills to my insurance company or to myself?
That's a hard question to answer, but I'll try to answer it as best as I can. I guess I'll start by saying it's important to know that insurance company plays games. And so the bills that get sent to insurance companies are part of the gamesmanship. They say we're only going to reimburse a really small percentage. So then the people that are trying to get reimbursed make the cost really, really high so that a small percentage still kind of covers the cost. So there's kind of gamesmanship between hospitals, physicians, ambulance companies, and that. Right? And so our rep from Springfield also mentioned something called the subscription service. So many of the ambulance companies in the region historically have been volunteer-based or hybrid, kind of combination volunteer with some professional staff. And so, it costs money to staff. And so one of the ways that they raise money is by a subscription service, where you may have received a letter in the mail saying, hey, support Swarthmore EMS or support Springfield EMS. And if you do that on a recurring basis through what they call their subscription, that will essentially mean that the amount of your bill that the insurance company does not cover, they will not then send you the remainder. So you can think of that subscription as kind of like an ambulance insurance product, whereas if you don't have that subscription plan with that ambulance company, and let's say you got a fairly representative number, a $2,000 bill, and insurance covered $1,000, and you were then going to be responsible for the last $1,000. If you were a subscriber, they would pay that. Generally speaking, the EMS companies in the area have kind of reciprocity agreements with the others, such that if you are a Springfield resident and if you're a subscriber to Springfield service, and because of mutual aid, you happen to be picked up by Swarthmore that day, Swarthmore would say, you're a subscriber to Springfield, we're going to waive the fee. And kind of likewise across the county, there's a series of
No, last question, Mr. Lillicrap.
Just one question. Whatever service, do I have the choice of where I want to go?
Also, let me just say this.
Very good.
Morton has zero say
No.
with the resolution, so
No,
it's up to the hospital.
They picked me up, I had a call, and I say, I want to go to Riddle, I want to go to Blankville.
Yeah,
I know you can.
as long as your commission allows us to go to a hospital, the Pennsylvania protocols allow us to go to hospitals within a reasonable distance. That includes hospitals in Philadelphia and in Delaware County, as well as Montgomery County. So Mackinac, Bryn Mawr, we've taken patients to Paoli, we've taken kids out to Paoki Chop. As long as your condition allows it.
But if he had like a major fall with like a headache.
And this is what extends these call times. Just by that question, like, do I have a choice? We actually used to have a choice. Crozier is gone. So even if we decided to not do any of this, it would be like the state police trying to show up to save your life. You really kind of just, this is where we're at, and we've actually never been faced with this. I can't say that any of you have been faced with this crisis in your lifetime. But we do need to move on, and we do need to vote on this. And I promise you, we'll make sure that you get your questions answered, but we do need to move on, we do need to vote on this.
And I'm not going to offer myself up in the hallway.
I had a quick, just a real quick question.
So we gotta move on, Eileen, we gotta move on.
It was about the number.
Yeah.
26%.
Yeah, I appreciate all of the presentations, that answered, a lot of questions, a lot of blanks, so I appreciate that.
All right.
So that's the worst case scenario, is the numbers, whatever they receive from insurance companies, resident gets it out to the.
Everybody, thank everybody for coming out. Okay. We had a discussion, we hope everybody kind of understood everything that's been going on. And the vote's gonna be tonight, we're gonna look at whether we're going with Swarthmore, we're going with Springfield, or we're going with VMSC. Okay? We have the two organizations here, we have to break down with it. So we have to give the option out. We want to move forward with it. Okay? All right. So I need somebody.
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
Make it clear.
I'll make a motion. I would like to make the motion that we go with the Swarthmore Fire and Prevention Association covered.
Do we have a second?
Second.
You want to do the roll call now?
Yes. Council President Bernice Clark Dickerson,
Yes.
Wait a minute. For sophomore.
Yes, sophomore. I gotta let everybody understand, because I don't think you do this too. There's a difference in each, and understand that we're going with sophomore. We're asking for the council to sign up for 16 months for that contract for 16 months, knowing you're stuck in that contract for that contract. If we're looking at Springfield, we're looking at the yearly contract, okay? And the VSMC. So we know what we're doing.
So clarify what the motion is for right now.
Clarify, the motion is the, first motion on the line is for Swarthmore.
For a 16-month period of time.
This is resolution 2025 dash what?
Marty, what's the resolution? 12. Don't worry about
Excuse us.
The motion was made to adopt resolution 2025, which would appoint, which would authorize the appropriate borough officials to take any action to approve the intergovernmental shared services agreement with SWAP. Well, the motion has been made and seconded, so.
Motion made to vote for Swarthmore. Michelle was the second.
Doug
Second by Doug. Second by Doug. Okay.
You can go ahead.
Yep.
Okay.
Council President Bernice Clark Dickerson,
No.
Councilor Doug Iger,
No.
no. Councilor Beth Ann Johnson,
No.
Councilor Michelle Miller,
Yes.
Council Vice President Shante Miller,
No.
Councilor Michelle Roberts,
No.
Councilor Walter Stubbs.
No.
Okay. Motion not carried.
Well, what is the motion? The motion would be to enter into.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and make the motion for, to go with Springfield.
Wait a minute, Michelle, please. Go ahead.
Right, so, you'd be making a motion to modify, well, you'd be making a motion to contract with the Springfield Ambulance, what's it, the Springfield Ambulance Corps?
Springfield Ambulance Corps, yes.
To provide ALS services to the Borough of Morton. For a period of 1 year.
Here's my year.
So that's the motion.
All right.
Is this 1 year beginning August 2nd?
Who made a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? I second the motion. Okay, roll call.
Council President Denise Clark Dickinson,
Yes.
Councilor Douglas Iger,
Yes.
Councilor Beth Ann Johnson,
Yes.
Councilor Michelle Miller,
Yes.
Council Vice President Shante Miller,
Yes.
Councilor Michelle Roberts,
Yes.
Councilor Walter Stubbs.
Yes.
That doesn't need a resolution. You're looking for a motion to approve the minutes of May 14th, 2025, the general meeting, and the May 28th, 2025, regular meeting. Looking for a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You're looking for a motion to ratify and affirm the payment of bills as listed for the month of May 2025.
So moved. Second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now we have open discussion.
It's highly covered.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. Okay. Highly kind at 231 Walnut Street. I just wanted to say thank you for going over the information about the trees that we were talking about, like personal property. I was also concerned about the parks. Thank you also, for letting us know that Jacobs will be updated and new equipment. That's been a long time coming. Any date when we will be starting or the equipment will be ordered?
In the process on that now.
So,
The trees are
so once the
already-
trees get cleared out, that clean up, then that's when we can start with the next phase.
So next summer we'll be good to
Oh,
go
yeah.
for June?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Other thing I just wanted to ask you all, I know, you have the calendar, but it would be helpful, I'm just throwing it out there, if committee meetings are also put on the agenda. I wanted to see when I could go to a committee meeting. I did look at, like, I saw July, Parks and Rec, but some of the other committees.
They have been.
That are on-
Usually they are, they usually are, and they have been, so I'm sorry I missed it this one, yeah.
Okay. Usually
Yeah, but they have
right
been,
in the-
yes,
in the-
yes.
Okay, all right, y'all have been. The only other question I had, was about the, speed bumps on Walnut Street, which, you all know I've been asking about for about 7 to 9 years. That was something that was also not gonna come at a cost to the borough based on an agreement. And just was wondering if there is a time for the installation of those. That was my last question.
Charles, have you heard?
That's from a while.
I have not heard, but I can follow up with the attorney for the development.
Did you hear the answer, Kylie?
He said that he's gonna follow up with, Wawa to
Yeah.
find out when they would be installing. Okay, thank you. Yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Todd?
Hi, Seal Todd, 110 Althea Lane. Here's a flyer here of the, an officer of the fire company about the water and the Gatorade. Pick it up if you want to. We're also doing the summer bundle raffle for a 7-inch cubic foot freezer, a Blackstone grill, $500 Colonial Village Springfield gift card, $100 bulk food Delco gift card, a $50 gift card to BJ's, and $100 in cash. Whoever wins this raffle gets everything. They don't just get one, they just get everything. So if you want to buy a ticket, you gotta see me or you gotta stop at the firehouse. I wanted to remind you, we have trash people that come out and pick up our trash twice a week. Please give them water, give them a 20 every once in a while to buy a lunch. Take care of the people that service you. My last comment, thank you to council. And thank you to all the people from Swarthmore, Nether Providence, Rutledge, and Rose Valley. If we didn't have this information, and Springfield, if we didn't have this information, we wouldn't be able to make decisions accurately. I, as a resident of more than 60 years, thank you for your time and your commitment to the communities that you serve. Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
Mike Lee, 123 West Sylvan Avenue, Morton, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, United States of America. For about a year and a half, practically every meeting, except the council meeting, it appears to me it's a Bash Michelle Miller meeting. I'm going to ask you one question and think about this. At the end of the year, Mrs. Miller will no longer be a member of the council. And that will be the borough's loss. As far as I'm concerned, it's the borough's loss. Think about this. Who are you going to hate then? You don't have to have somebody to hate. You don't have Michelle Miller to kick around anymore. Who are you going to hate? Who are you going to bash? And children act better. Act better. I hate it when people interrupt me when I'm speaking. You all want to be treated with courtesy and respect. Show our former council president respect. Let her finish a comment. That's all I have to say. And in the words of the late news commentator, Edward R. Murrow, good night and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms.
You should be on
Lockley?
Jeopardy.
Lisa Lockley, 114 Harding Avenue, Morton. On June the 11th, I was here for a Borough Council meeting. When I went to my car, I got a ticket. I've never known to anyone ever get a ticket where the place I was located at. You had election day, people never got a ticket. You had events here, cheerleading, no one's ever gotten a ticket. But I got one, and then so did another lady. Now, my concern is this. You know, I'm a preschool teacher, and I believe in showing artifacts. Excuse me, I'm sorry I can't show you guys. This is where my car was located. This was the car Saturday, which was located in the same direction. They put cones behind there. Now, if they didn't give this car a ticket, why was mine ticket?
That was election day, you said?
No, this was Saturday. This was the meeting that came up here because I had to do the comprehension. Now, also, they talk about the 30 feet from the stop sign. These cars were parked all over the place on Saturday. They never got a ticket. So why was my car targeted? And I came up here just for a Borough Council meeting. I would like my money back.
Can I ask you a question? Just the ones at the bottom, they're from the food truck?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to maybe share that with the chief? Show him.
I already talked to the chief.
Did you show him this though? Because you're
No, I
making a
didn't.
point, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Chief, I have nothing against you. My father was the chief of police, okay? But he also told me to stand up for my rights. This is where my car was parked. This is the car on Saturday. They put cones behind there, but this car never got a ticket because my grandson and I took pictures, okay? These cars right here were also parked not 30 feet. They were like 5 feet up, almost up to the stop sign, and they didn't get a ticket. So I just want to know why I got a ticket and nobody else gets a ticket.
Can we ask?
You can still have the conversation. We're just going to move on to the next.
No, I'm
question.
finished.
Okay, thank you.
Just sit down there.
Yeah, help. Follow up with you.
You said, wait, you said you were done or you, I thought you said.
No, I'm done with the chief.
Oh,
sorry.
okay, go ahead.
I would think because of the event on Saturday, with so many people here, that it was not, I don't think, something that they were targeting people with. Even with you, I don't think you were targeted, even though you probably felt as though you were. And I feel as though the chief probably will work with you and he will try to resolve your situation.
Yeah, my suggestion to the chief was to put, like, when there's exits, so everybody knows, don't park there. Everybody knows.
So just to go back to that, the meet and night, when you came in with your ticket though, because I know you were upset and I immediately was trying to take your ticket so that we could handle it there because all the points that you had made, there wasn't parking, you had parked there, and like you said, history shows that that has never been the case. So when you came in and I said, please let me have the ticket, you said no, like you were abruptly like,
Well, you
no.
went to go take my ticket, and that's illegal, because that's illegal documentation. But what I'm saying to you is,
But I was also looking
I was
to help
talking to
you
the
out.
mayor,
but-
because the mayor has more, probably could have had more, say so, because you work with the police department.
I'm public safety, but it's okay,
Our
it's
time
fine.
is up, so we're gonna follow through with it
Yeah.
at this point in time. That you brought the information to the chief and he'll follow up. Thank you. I don't think nobody disregarded you.
No, I didn't say Target. What I meant was that I had my car parked there.
Okay, we're just saying.
And I got a ticket.
Okay, well, we'll figure out what happened. Thank you.
Because even on election day, you're gonna find people
But
parked.
what about the no parking sign, right? Just forget about everything
Okay,
else.
and that's fine, but what I'm saying is this, that same, another car was parked at the
But we
no
were
parking
willing
sign.
to work with you that night when you came in. I immediately was like,
But
said
you
it was
couldn't have,
illegal.
okay, that's fine, but you couldn't have changed that, I had to talk to the chief, because
Okay.
he is the
Okay,
chief.
we'll get back to you. Thank you. Next, yes, for now.
Hi, I'm Cindy, it's Lake Baker Street, and I'm speaking. The first thing that concern I have,
So we can hear you.
for sure. Is the Juneteenth thing that was canceled. I had invited people to come, I didn't know it was canceled. Why wasn't it brought inside? Or why wasn't it postponed to the following week? And this is a community, and we're supposed to be working together and blended in with the fire company. There was space out there, was enough room for everybody. So that could have been a joint event, you know, Juneteenth and the vendor. That's my
There
first-
wasn't room on the field for that, I'm sorry.
I was there.
I was too, and there was absolutely no room on that field.
I was there and I had people with me last weekend and I did see the space and I did point it out to someone. So I'm not speaking, you know, out of air. The second thing is, things that go on in the community, you say, you know, it was all on the news and things like that. Sometimes people don't see the news, don't like to look at the news and are working or whatever the case may be about the event that happened in Morton. So to say I'm not gonna go into it, it should be going into so that we are aware of what's going on within our community. The next thing is that the flyers about the parking signs, I didn't get one in my book. So if you have any copies
It doesn't
about what's
affect your,
going on.
doesn't affect your end of the block, man.
On Baker Street?
Just between North Morton and Maple Ave.
Oh, okay. The scooters, when the residents get scooters for their kids, they should automatically get helmets. That's just like a common sense thing. And train them, train up a child in the way they should go. So it starts at home, you know? So, I mean, yes, the event, you know, have the police, you know, help out and everything like that, but it starts at home. I didn't see anything about the Rainbow event. That wasn't posted in the doors, so maybe I missed something. On the bulletin board.
Here, she may hear.
So, you know, with that being said, this is why, you know, I'm saying that the people in the community, you know, not just on the board up here, but it needs to go out in the community. It can go out just like the Juneteenth signs, which were posted on the poles, which is a hazard, because.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
Oh, no,
Everybody had a chance. I have one more thing about the signs. They're posted on the poles. And that's a drive, that's a hazard, that can cause an accident. Just like the vendor information was in the yards and everything like that, nicely put. That can be, addressed and advertised another way as well.
So just to, I just want to.
Oh, and the
answer a
last
couple
thing is the disrespect on the council. I've been to several meetings. When you, and the council, you know, you say you meet.
I don't
understand, yeah, you meet, but I mean, everyone has time, and I sat patiently past late.
We want to address
So
your.
I just want to address that respect starts up here and then flourishes out here amongst each other.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, the one thing I just want to answer about the Juneteenth, well, no, the Juneteenth, we had an event in the gym that day, so we could not move it indoors. Otherwise, we would have tried to reassess the situation, but it did rain. So we had CPR in the gym, so we were not able to move that in. We did not have a rain date either because it was, more so like a picnic in the park. And we also knew that we had the field rented out after that time being. So it's just not something that we could come up with at that time.
Next is Ms. Brown.
She left, she's not here.
Okay, that's our meeting.
I just, one more thing, one more thing. Last meeting, we neglected to thank all the people that put in all the time and effort, that the residents, on the comprehensive plan. I apologize about that, because that started under my watch, so I want to make sure to say, to thank everyone.
Yes,
I
thank
think I'm
you.
here, for all your time and effort over those, I guess going on 3 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
Charles, how you doing, buddy? Long time no see. Speak to you tomorrow? No. Taking the family to cruise.
Oh, I'm not.
I do about 13.
What's up, big chess and the gloves, the basketball that I had.
It's about Morton's fire chief?
And you was there.
Hey, how are you?
I don't want to get out of this. Right behind me.
Up behind the got it. Thanks, Wally.
Okay.
Have a good night, okay?
Well, thanks, sir.